Albania is a small country in southeastern Europe, located on the western part of the Balkan Peninsula. It is a land of mountains, rivers, and beautiful coasts along the Adriatic and Ionian Seas. Despite its small size, Albania has a long and complex history that stretches back thousands of years. Over time, it has been shaped by many different cultures and empires, from the ancient Illyrians to the modern European age. The story of Albania is one of survival, resilience, and the strong desire for freedom and identity. The earliest known people who lived in what is now Albania were the Illyrians. They were an Indo-European people who lived across much of the Western Balkans. The Illyrians were not a single nation, but a group of tribes with similar languages and customs. They were skilled warriors, farmers, and sailors who traded with the Greeks and other Mediterranean peoples. The first written records of the Illyrians come from ancient Greek and Roman historians who described them as brave but sometimes wild tribes. By the 4th century BCE, parts of Illyria came under the influence of Greek colonies along the coast. Cities like Apollonia and Dyrrhachium, today Durrës, became important trade centers where Greek culture mixed with Illyrian traditions. However, the Illyrians often resisted outside control and fought to remain independent. One of the most famous Illyrian leaders was Queen Tuta, who ruled in the 3rd century BCE and fought against Rome to defend her kingdom. Despite her efforts, the Romans eventually conquered Illyria in the 2nd century BCE, and the region became part of the Roman Empire. Under Roman rule, Illyria became a peaceful and prosperous region. The Romans built cities, roads, and forts, some of which can still be seen today. They introduced Latin, Roman laws, and new forms of agriculture and architecture. Many Illyrians joined the Roman army and even rose to high positions. In fact, several Roman emperors were of Illyrian origin, such as Diocletian and Constantine the Great. When the Roman Empire split in 395 CE, the western part eventually collapsed, but the eastern part survived as the Byzantine Empire. Albania became part of the Byzantine world, and Christianity spread throughout the region. Over time, the local population began to develop a distinct identity that was neither fully Greek nor Latin. This mix of influences would later shape the Albanian language and culture. During the early Middle Ages, Albania was invaded by many groups. Slavic tribes moved into the Balkans in the 6th and 7th centuries, mixing with the local people. Later, the Bulgarians and Normans also tried to take control. Despite these invasions, the Byzantine Empire managed to maintain influence in the area for many centuries. In the 12th century, a local Albanian state known as the Principality of Arbanon was established. This was the first recognized Albanian political entity and showed the beginnings of a distinct Albanian nation. In the 13th and 14th centuries, the region became a battleground between the Byzantines, the Serbs, and the Venetians. Several Albanian noble families gained power and ruled over different regions. They built castles and developed trade with other Mediterranean cities. However, the growing power of the Ottoman Turks in the Balkans would soon change Albania's fate completely. By the late 14th century, the Ottoman Empire had begun to expand rapidly in southeastern Europe. They defeated the Serbs and other Balkan states and gradually took control of Albania. However, the Albanians fiercely resisted Ottoman rule. The most famous leader of this resistance was Gjergj Kastrioti, better known as Skanderbeg. Born into a noble family, Skanderbeg was taken by the Ottomans as a young boy and trained as a soldier. Later, he escaped and returned to Albania, where he united the Albanian clans against the Ottomans in 1443. For more than 20 years, Skanderbeg led a strong resistance that managed to keep the Ottomans out of much of Albania. He became a symbol of bravery and unity, not just for Albanians but for all of Europe, which feared Ottoman expansion. After his death in 1468, Albanian resistance weakened, and by 1479, the Ottomans had full control over the region. Under Ottoman rule, Albania remained part of the empire for over 4 centuries. During this time, many Albanians converted to Islam, while others remained Christian, either Orthodox or Catholic. This created a mixed religious landscape that still exists today. Albanian soldiers, administrators, and merchants played important roles in the Ottoman system. However, the empire's control also slowed local development, and education in the Albanian language was restricted. Despite these challenges, Albanian families kept their traditions, songs, and stories alive, helping to preserve a sense of national identity. In the 19th century, as the Ottoman Empire began to weaken, nationalist movements spread throughout the Balkans. Albanians also began to demand more rights and recognition. This period is known as the Rilinja Kombëtare, or National Awakening. Albanian intellectuals, many of whom lived abroad, worked to promote the Albanian language, open schools, and write books and newspapers in Albanian. They wanted to unite the people who were divided by religion and region under one national identity. In 1878, Albanian leaders formed the League of Prizren, an organization that sought to defend Albanian lands from being divided among neighboring states after the Russo-Turkish War. Although the League was suppressed by the Ottomans, it laid the foundation for future independence efforts. During the early 20th century, the Ottoman Empire continued to decline, and Balkan countries like Serbia, Greece, and Montenegro fought to expand their territories. Fearing that Albania would be divided between them, Albanian leaders took a bold step. On November 28, 1912, Ismail Kemali declared Albania's independence in the city of Vlore. This date remains one of the most important in Albanian history and is celebrated as Independence Day. However, independence did not bring peace immediately. During the Balkan Wars and World War I, Albania was invaded by several countries and divided into different zones of occupation. It was not until 1920 that Albania's territorial integrity was recognized by the international community, and the capital was established in Tirana. In the years following independence, Albania struggled to create a stable government. The country was poor, divided, and lacked strong institutions. After a series of political conflicts, Ahmet Zogu, a former warlord and politician, declared himself King Zog Thravenfuren in 1928. He tried to modernize Albania by building schools, roads, and a new legal system, but his rule was also authoritarian. He relied heavily on Italy for financial and military support, which eventually made Albania vulnerable to foreign influence. In 1939, Italy invaded Albania, turning it into an Italian protectorate. During World War II, the country was occupied first by Italy and later by Nazi Germany after Italy's surrender. The Albanian resistance movement, led by communist partisans, fought against the occupiers. By the end of the war in 1944, the communists, under the leadership of Enver Hoxha, had taken full control of the country. After the war, Albania became one of the most isolated and repressive communist states in the world. Enver Hoxha ruled the country from 1944 until his death in 1985. He established a strict Stalinist dictatorship that controlled every aspect of life. The government abolished private property, banned religion, and created a secret police force to monitor citizens. In 1967, Albania declared itself the world's first atheist state, closing all churches and mosques. Hoxha's regime also broke ties with most other communist countries over ideological disagreements. First, Albania sided with the Soviet Union, then with China, and finally became completely isolated from both East and West. To protect itself from imagined foreign invasions, the government built hundreds of thousands of small concrete bunkers all over the country. These bunkers still dot the Albanian landscape today, as reminders of that period. While literacy and healthcare improved under communism, the economy remained weak, and citizens lived under constant fear and surveillance. Many tried to escape, but the borders were heavily guarded. When Hoxha died in 1985, Albania was one of the most closed and poorest countries in Europe. After the fall of communist regimes across Eastern Europe, Albania also began to change. In 1991, protests and strikes forced the communist government to step down, and free elections were held. The transition to democracy was difficult. The economy collapsed, unemployment rose, and many people emigrated to Italy, Greece, and other countries in search of a better life. In 1997, the country faced a major crisis when several large pyramid investment schemes collapsed, wiping out people's savings. This led to violent unrest and near civil war. International peacekeepers helped restore order, and new reforms followed. Over time, Albania slowly stabilized and began to rebuild its economy and institutions. In the 2000s, Albania started to open up to the world. It joined NATO in 2009, a major step toward integration with Western institutions. The same year, Albania applied for European Union membership, and in 2014, it became an official EU candidate country. The government has since been working on reforms to improve the economy, reduce corruption, and strengthen democracy. Tourism has become an important part of Albania's modern economy. Visitors are drawn to its stunning beaches, historic towns, and mountain landscapes. The country has also invested in infrastructure, education, and technology. However, challenges remain, including emigration, unemployment, and political corruption. Today, Albania is a parliamentary republic, with a president as head of state and a prime minister as head of government. Its capital, Tirana, has grown into a lively and colorful city, symbolizing the country's transformation. Albanians are proud of their heritage and language, which is unique and not closely related to any other modern European language. Despite centuries of foreign domination and hardship, Albania has preserved its culture, traditions, and national identity. The story of Albania is one of endurance. From the ancient Illyrians and the courage of Skanderbeg to the struggles of the communist years and the hopes of the modern era, the Albanian people have always shown a deep desire for freedom and dignity. Today, Albania stands as a young democracy, looking toward a future as part of a united and peaceful Europe.